Are you ready to scale your business in a way that's aligned with your soul and profitable? I'm Casey Rossi, a business and leadership coach. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 30 years and love business. I help conscious leaders increase their impact and optimize their lives. Join me each week for tips and deep conversations on cultivating confidence, increasing your visibility, elevating your vibration, and leading with purpose without burning out. Let's go. Hello. Hey, what are you up to today? It is bright and sunny here in upstate New York, and it's actually Memorial Day. So a special shout out to all the men and women who have served our country always, but with a special attention today. So my dad and partner are Navy men, and my partner's son served a tour in Iraq. So it's especially meaningful when you have a personal connection and you can see the ups and downs and all the behind the scenes. I hope you've carved out space or a moment of prayer for all those who have gone before us and sacrificed for our safety. So I have been focusing on a little mini series here on the pod lately, starting with why a growth mindset is the fastest way to mastery. Then we had the incredible power of knowing your deep why, how being anti-fragile helps win at life, and last week's, are you making enough of an impact in the world? So if you've missed any of the episodes, remember to make a mental note to go back and listen because it will help you go deeper in today's topic, which is all about self-leadership. Now, leadership in general has been a strong focus for me over the last 3 years, and Forbes describes leadership as a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. When we think of leaders, usually the image of a confident, strong, and influential person comes to mind. For me, I often visualize them speaking on a stage or orchestrating change in a large group, and that's cool. Yet, I think self-leadership is far more interesting. Self-leadership is all about how you live your life. It's about developing and managing our own energy and endeavors, not only in business, but in life. This is what I help my clients do in the Soul Print Method coaching. It's really blending the feminine, intuition, faith, and self-trust with sharp strategies so they can approach their business holistically. I like to visualize the yin and yang symbol. So we have that beautiful balance of the masculine and the feminine, and it all pulls together into a really beautiful design. Boiled down, it basically is about starting with yourself as client zero and carving out a growth mindset, putting the theory into practice, and dialing in your time management and habits so that you can move towards mastery. You accelerate your progress towards mastery, and this leads to big time results. It's actually the most exciting stuff if you ask me, because it's personal development work at its best. We take ourselves with us wherever we go, and we are the works of art. We get to mold the clay into what we want the creation to look like, and the cool thing is, through being a radiant exemplar, others are going to be naturally attracted to our energy. They're going to be inspired by our lifestyle, and they're going to be motivated by our results. So to me, isn't that true leadership? Sparking curiosity and momentum in others, leading by example so others have the mojo to do the same. Quite honestly, I think many times, and this is a general statement, leadership can fall into a do as I say, not as I do kind of a thing. And I am not into that at all. In fact, I just had a recent experience that really underscored how passionate I am about authentic, aligned leadership. I followed this very well-known coach for years, bought his books, and even shared his audios with my clients because they were so on point. And I had an opportunity to attend one of his live masterclasses this month with my peer coach, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge opportunity because this person gets buku bucks to coach with them or to do a VIP day. I mean, just like thousands and thousands to be in his space. So I was really feeling blessed when I had this opportunity to jump on a live masterclass. So much to my surprise, when I got on the Zoom and I actually saw him full screen, I was really shocked. And this is a little side note pet peeve, but to me, when someone is using a headshot that's 15 years old, that doesn't feel like it's in alignment. So that's a little side note. It's really, you've got to show up. You've got to show up in person how you're presenting online. That's step one when it comes to an alignment thing and integrity. So anyway, this man had aged, and that happens to all of us. I mean, God knows. But his outer appearance also showed signs of poor health and stagnation and, in my humble opinion, perhaps substance abuse. And this may sound judgmental, and I guess it really is to some extent, but we all have filters that we run things through, especially now. There are so many things that we could be putting our time and attention to that I feel that we can immediately pick up on something when it's not resonating for ourselves. Anyway, I chatted with my friend about this, and she was also on the masterclass. And basically she's like, well, that doesn't matter to me. I am only there for the content. I'm there for the content. And I replied to her without even thinking, there is no shortage of content in the world. And I'm dedicated to spending my time and energy connecting to people who walk their talk, who have their feet held to the fire and get up and do it all over again the next day because integrity is in their blood and there is no other option. And it was really interesting because my feelings, my passion actually even surprised me. It was just, I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, nope, there is a disconnect. And I'm only going to put my time and energy towards people that I want to gravitate towards and that actually have qualities that I want to embody, because to me, that is a huge part of leadership. If I'm going to follow a leader in any realm, spiritual or business, I'm going to follow them if they're living their truth and if they are shining exemplars. If I know that they're actually putting into place what they're telling us to put into place, then I'm going to be first in line. Otherwise, see you later, bye. So when we look at the inner game of self-leadership in a nutshell, it begins with our mindset, right? This is our inner game. Our thoughts, feelings, and emotion, in essence, our belief system. And when we look at the outer game of self-leadership, it comes down to action. It's our behaviors, which, as we know, in turn governs our results. So this dynamic duo has to go hand in hand, both the inner work and the outer work. When it does, there's alignment and forward motion. And as we know, like begets like. So your energy, and your results will automatically attract your divine right tribe. Whether that be your perfect clients, or you're in a group environment and you're inspiring team members to take note, get curious, and begin focusing on inward efforts to achieve their own results. I wanted to look at a couple of traits that the Center for Creative Leadership lists as some of the top characteristics of a good leader and see how we can look at a couple of them through the lens of self-leadership. The first is integrity. Now, to me, integrity is the foundation of any sustainable endeavor, be it a relationship or a business venture. Honesty is the basis. And when I think of self-leadership and integrity, thoughts of being honest with myself come up. If I'm really honest with myself, what do I feel about? And then fill in the blank, whatever it is for you. And a couple of months ago, I had a situation come up where I had to put this principle into action. We're always putting these principles into action, but one really stands out in my mind. And I was spending way too much time in my inbox, way too much time. And when I got really honest with myself, I was using it as a distraction to deep work. And if I get really, really honest with myself and with you, it was a way to stay in my comfort zone versus taking a massive leap to up level. I was telling myself that I was needed and I had to attend to all the demands and all the pings that were coming in. And this was not true. And it took putting integrity into action, which really looked like putting in a boundary to only opening Gmail at 10 and 3 and also being really open and communicating that with people who are writing to me. And this is just one example. I want you to think, how can you be more honest with yourself? There are a million opportunities to practice this. Maybe it's with your food journal if you keep one. Are you recording each item or intentionally skipping a few entries so it looks on track? Maybe it's with the hours you spend in your deep focused work or your CEO blocks of time that you allow yourself to be distracted by not turning the ringer off on your cell or keeping Facebook notifications on. Whatever it is, when it's silent, you know what you need to do. Practicing integrity on a daily basis is the first step to self-leadership. Now, the next one I want to dive into is the ability to delegate. This is a big one for perfectionists and micromanagers. It's easy to think that you're the only one that can do the task. And believe me, I've been there. I often joke that I'm a recovering perfectionist, and it is a hard habit to break. Being able to let go of the reins and even recognize your need for control is huge. So it's a practice to trust, and it's something that we can start doing in our personal lives and then extend it to our business lives. When we expand our consciousness outside of me, myself, and I, it opens up a tremendous opportunity to see clearer and also has more space to focus in on our zone of genius. Now, for me, when I hired a podcast manager, this allowed me to focus on the content and the marketing versus doing more of the admin tasks like editing and show notes. This absolutely took a little time to let go. And there was, of course, an on-ramp to fully get my VA up to speed, to really even know my desires and style. But now I look for opportunities to delegate because I have experienced both a sense of freedom and support. So now it's almost like a whole mindset shift. And I think that that's going to happen to you as you continue to work this delegation piece. And maybe you're already rocking that, and that is awesome. Such a key piece in self-leadership. Now, the next one, which is huge, maybe even one of the biggest ones, is our ability to communicate using our voice as leaders is crucial, but it's also not just reserved for business meetings and client interaction. Do you speak up in your own home with your partner and kids? Do you say what you really want to your friends? Do you take a stand when something is being said or done in front of you that doesn't sit well or is just unjust, right? This episode is brought to you by Know Thyself and Lead, my free mini training that unlocks the top 3 secrets that you need to joyfully thrive. You'll learn the #1 way to fuel action so that you're never stuck or procrastinate again. You'll crack the code and unveil your specific aligned purpose for more flow and ease. And you'll discover the way to propel you further, faster. You can binge watch all 3 trainings at once or at your leisure. Either way, you'll want to sign up and dive right in. Access Know Thyself and Lead at kcrossi.com/lead. That's kcrossi.com/lead. Now, please enjoy the show. These are all opportunities to exercise self-leadership, understanding our voice, embracing our voice, and using our voice. Now, last year when the Black Lives Matter movement hit a peak, and everyone was sharing their views online, and they were making their profile pic black squares and the whole thing, I initially chose to just kind of watch and process. And days later, my VA at the time, she actually wrote me, and I totally applaud her bravery and courage. And she basically said that silence is a stand and your followers are waiting for you to chime in. And this was a major learning opportunity for me. It was a massive opportunity to grow and to understand, not to just listen, but to speak. And honestly, it's one that I'm continually learning as I navigate through new waters for myself when it comes to social injustice and human rights issues. So huge. So it's important to note that communication is way bigger of a conversation than just speaking. It also involves listening and being emotionally aware and sensitive to nonverbal clues. There are several ways that we exchange information and express ourselves. So being mindful of how we are perceived, our body language, even the tone and clarity of how we correspond in email, it matters. It really matters. And this self-awareness cultivates a positive ripple effect in our own lives, and people are influenced by living examples and begin to make changes when they experience something good. So how can you optimize your communication? Take a minute to think about it. Maybe even press pause, or maybe even, make a little Post-it note for yourself to go back and journal how you can optimize your communication. And again, it could be the communication of your emails. It could be a little game that you play with yourself where you're being very aware of nonverbal clues. It could be something that you say to yourself that today I'm going to exercise like emotional intelligence. I'm going to exercise how I can pick up on nonverbal clues and emotions and body languages when I'm interacting with people, with the focus of increasing our communication as a leader. And again, always begin with yourself first. You can be very aware of your body language. When you're on Zoom, do you look attentive? Or are you looking down? Are you dashing a text and multitasking? Are you shuffling around papers? Believe me, the person on the other end of the computer, even though they could be on the other end of the world, they're going to pick that up. And you're going to lose something. There's going to be, like Stephen Covey often talks about, deposits, emotional and spiritual deposits in our bank account. When something positive happens and we strengthen that relationship, it is considered a deposit. But when there is damage or mistrust or some kind of turbulence, that's actually looked at as like a relationship deficit or a withdrawal. So I want you to think about that, because I know a lot of us are doing Zoom a lot, if not on a daily basis. And I want you to think about that, beginning with yourself. Are you exercising compassionate listening? How does your body language look when you're interacting with people? How can you be more aware, more sensitive, and have your actions be in complete alignment to your message, to your brand, to your mission? It's a wonderful opportunity to dial in our growth and to improve our leadership, beginning with our self-leadership. So we talked about 3 ways to mindful and effective self-leadership. They were integrity, the ability to delegate, and communication. And those are just 3 of the ways. Starting with ourselves first is the only way to truly lead and initiate sustainable change. I'm very curious about your thoughts. Please reach out to me and let me know what comes up when you think about self-leadership and how you implement the characteristics mentioned above. Until next week, my friends, breathe joy. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you found value in what we chatted about, feel free to share this with someone who you think would benefit from the info. Also, I've been sharing some podcast reviews, and today I'm sharing what Creative Transformations from the US said. She says, 5 stars, inspiring podcast. I really enjoy listening to this podcast. Each interview is full of inspiring treasures. Women entrepreneurs wear many hats, and they talk about them in a real way here. Casey has exceptional talent, and her podcast is delightful. Thank you so much, Creative Transformations. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that takes the time to tune in. If you want to review the podcast, you can head over to lovethepodcast.com/brilliance. That's lovethepodcast.com/brilliance. Thank you.